poor. Single mom fell asleep on a CEO's shoulder in the subway. What happened next shocked everyone. New York City moved as it always did, fast, loud, relentless. Car horns echoed down tight avenues, voices clashed on busy sidewalks, and somewhere below, the screech of subway trains cut through the underground hum. In the middle of it all stood Emma Carter. On the corner of a Queens intersection, she clutched a paper bag of leftover pancakes from her double shift at Manny's Diner. Her other hand wrapped protectively around the sticky fingers of her 4-year-old son, Oliver. "Hold tight, baby," she said softly, brushing a golden strand from her damp forehead. Her wrinkled uniform, worn sneakers, and tired eyes told a longer story, one of long nights and quiet sacrifices. "I'm hungry," Oliver mumbled, tugging at her hand. "I know, sweetheart. We'll eat these on the train, okay? It's almost bedtime." He nodded with sleepy reluctance. Emma smiled, kissed his forehead, then pulled out her phone, the screen lighting up with a new message from her aunt. "Emma, your mom's fading fast. You need to come now." Her breath caught. Her mother, the one person who had always been her safe place, was slipping away. Emma had not seen her in almost 2 years. Life had gotten in the way. Work, bills, survival. Now, she might be too late. With trembling fingers, she texted back, "I'm coming. Be there soon." Moments later, they were descending into the subway station, Oliver nodding off on her shoulder. Emma juggled the pancake bag, her purse, and his weight as they boarded the F-line, finding a quiet car near the back. It was just past midnight. Only a few scattered passengers sat in silence. Emma slid into a corner seat and cradled Oliver on her lap, his small breaths warming her neck. Her back ached. Her legs throbbed. But her heart carried the heaviest weight of all. Station after station passed in a blur. Somewhere near Roosevelt Island, Emma gently laid Oliver on the seat beside her, covering him with her coat. Exhausted beyond reason, she leaned right and, without realizing it, let her head fall against the man seated next to her. She didn't notice him, but he noticed her. Liam Callahan had boarded at Bryant Park, fresh from a late dinner with investors. He wore a tailored navy suit, collar undone, tablet in hand, calm, composed, unreadable. When he felt her head rest against his shoulder, he turned just slightly. A woman, young, clearly exhausted, blonde hair messy and face drawn from fatigue. A child beside her, sleeping soundly. Liam studied her for a moment. Then, gently, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a silk handkerchief, folding it and sliding it between his shoulder and her cheek. He did not move. Across the car, an older woman watched with quiet admiration. A student nearby raised his phone, subtly snapping a photo and smiling to himself. No one spoke, but everyone noticed. Liam remained still for the entire ride. As the train neared Queensboro Plaza, Emma stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, and realization struck as she lifted her head. "Oh my God," she gasped, sitting up. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's all right," Liam said softly, a faint British lilt in his voice. "You looked like you needed it." Emma flushed, eyes dropping to her lap. "Still? Thank you." He smiled, warm but reserved. "No harm done?" The train came to a screeching halt. Emma quickly gathered her things, scooping Oliver into her arms. Before stepping off, she paused. "Really? Thank you." Liam nodded, steady and calm. As Emma disappeared into the night, she did not know his name or his story. But she would remember the stillness of that moment, his kindness, his shoulder, the quiet grace of a stranger when the world had grown too heavy. And so would everyone else who had watched it happen. Emma jolted awake as the train came to a stop, lifting her head abruptly from the stranger's shoulder. "I'm so sorry," she stammered wide-eyed. "I didn't mean to. I must have dozed off. I'm really sorry." The man turned toward her, his green eyes calm and kind. "You looked exhausted," he said. "I didn't mind." Emma blinked, surprised. People in the city rarely had patience, especially on the subway, especially at this hour. "It's been a long day," she murmured, brushing hair back into her ponytail. "I figured," he said with a faint smile. She gave a sheepish laugh. "Thanks for not getting mad or waking me up. You needed the rest more than I needed the space," he replied simply. The train screeched as it reached its final stop. Emma shifted, gently lifting her son Oliver into her arms. The boy stayed sound asleep, his small head pressed into her shoulder. "You've got your hands full," the man observed as he stood. "Yeah," Emma said, trying to get to the hospital before visiting hour's end. "Family emergency? My mom," she said quietly. "She's not doing well." His expression softened. "I'm sorry." Emma nodded, adjusting her bag over her shoulder. They stepped off the train into the dimly lit station. The city buzzed above, but down here it was quiet, eerily still under flickering lights and the scent of old concrete. The man glanced at her, then spoke casual, but certain. "I've got a car waiting outside. Let me give you a ride." Emma turned to him, startled. "Oh, I can't. I mean, thank you. But I don't even know you." He met her gaze without flinching. "You're carrying a sleeping kid at midnight after what looks like a long shift. You don't have to do this alone." She hesitated. Everything about her screamed caution. Years of struggle had trained her to expect conditions, catches, or consequences. But something in his voice, calm, sincere, eased the tension in her chest. "Okay," she said softly, "but only if it's not out of your way." Outside, a sleek black sedan waited at the curb. The driver opened the door silently. Emma slid into the warm leather seat, Oliver still dozing against her chest. The man followed and settled beside her. She let out a quiet breath. "You always travel like this?" she asked, gesturing at the car. "Most of the time." "How? What do you do?" He smiled faintly. "Business. A little bit of everything. Vague." But she didn't push. "I'm Emma," she said after a beat. He looked at her more closely now, then extended his hand. "Liam?" He shook it, his grip firm, warm, steady. "Well, Liam, thank you for all of this." He nodded. He nodded, like it was the most natural thing in the world. When they pulled up to the hospital, Emma turned toward him. "I can walk from here. Really. You should stay nearby," he said gently. "It's late. You need rest. I can't afford a hotel." "I can't afford a hotel," she blurted, before she could stop herself. Liam didn't react. He just leaned forward, quietly spoke to the driver, then sat back. Minutes later, the car pulled up to a small, clean hotel a block from the hospital. The driver stepped out and returned with a key card. Emma looked at him, confused. "What did you just do?" "Book to your room," Liam replied, then handed her a card from his pocket. Emma's eyes dropped to the raised lettering. "Liam Callahan, Chief Executive Officer. Callahan Global Holdings." Her breath hitched. This wasn't just a stranger on the subway. This was that Liam Callahan, billionaire, investor, Forbes cover story. She looked back at him, stunned. "You're the Liam Callahan?" He nodded calmly. Emma could barely get the words out. "But why would someone like you?" He cut her off gently. "Because tonight you looked like someone who deserved a little grace." She clutched Oliver tighter, the emotion catching in her throat. "Thank you," she whispered. Liam smiled softly. "Get some sleep, Emma. You've got a big day ahead." The car pulled away, leaving Emma standing on the hotel steps, heart racing, arms full, and for the first time in a long time, not feeling alone. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, casting a warm glow across the modest hotel room. Emma stirred, arms wrapped protectively around her son. Oliver was still sound asleep beside her, his small chest rising and falling peacefully. Her back ached, but for the first time in weeks, she had slept in a real bed. No couch, no diner booth, just silence, warmth, and safety. Her phone buzzed softly. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Good morning. Hope you got some rest. If you and Oliver are up for it, I'd love to take you both to breakfast. Liam." Emma stared at the message, hesitated. He was still a stranger, technically, but a stranger who had given her shelter, dignity, and kindness when she needed it most. She looked at Oliver's peaceful face and texted back, "We'll be ready in 30. Outside, Liam's car was already waiting. He stepped out in jeans and a navy sweater, more casual but still elegant. "Good morning," he said. Emma smiled. "Thank you, for everything." Liam motioned to the car. "I know a spot nearby. Great coffee, kid-friendly." "Ha ha ha. That's all I need," she replied. The cafe was tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop in a quiet Queen Street. Cozy booths, the scent of pancakes and cinnamon in the air. Oliver sat between them, eyes wide with excitement. "Got energy," Liam noted. Emma chuckled. "Wait until he gets juice." Liam leaned toward Oliver. "I hear the pancakes here are dinosaur-shaped?" Oliver's eyes lit up. "Like T-Rex?" Liam nodded. "Exactly." Emma watched them, surprised at how easily Oliver connected with him. Her son didn't usually warm up to strangers. They ordered pancakes for Oliver, toast and coffee for Emma. As they waited, conversation flowed. "So?" Liam asked. "What did you want to be before life changed things?" Emma tilted her head. "That's a loaded question, but not a wrong one," he replied. She gave a faint smile. "I studied journalism at NYU. I was pregnant. I haven't written anything serious in years." "You loved it?" "I did. I liked finding stories in ordinary lives. But dreams don't pay rent. Their food arrived." Oliver was fully absorbed in his syrup-covered dinosaurs. Liam let the silence linger before gently asking, "Would you ever want to go back to writing?" Emma looked at him, caught off guard. "Why?" "Because you have a voice. Because you have a voice. And people need to hear voices like yours." She didn't respond. Not yet. But the words stayed with her. As they finished breakfast, Liam shared bits of his past. Growing up in London, his parents' bitter divorce, his mother working 2 jobs to support them. Emma saw someone different beneath the polished exterior. Someone who understood struggle. They left the cafe around 10. Liam helped Oliver into the car, buckling him in with practiced ease. Emma leaned against the window as they drove. His question echoed in her mind. Would she write again? Could she? That afternoon, in his office, Liam pulled up an old blog Emma had kept. It was raw, emotional, unfiltered, but full of heart. He could hear her voice in every word. He picked up his phone. "Callahan Media," came the voice on the other end. "Claire," he said, "I need you to send a freelance trial packet to a writer. Background in journalism. Give her the standard prompt. Name, Emma Carter." A pause. "Should I ask how she's connected to you?" Liam's eyes glanced at a napkin on his desk. Oliver's T-Rex drawing from breakfast. "No need," he said. "Just make it happen." And just like that, Liam quietly opened a door, not just to Emma's old dream, but to the life she had once believed was out of reach. The email came the next morning. Emma stood outside the hospital, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, squinting at the screen. It was from someone named Claire at Callahan Media. "We'd love to see a sample of your work. We're currently running a series on real-life stories from everyday people. If you're interested, here's your prompt. Deadline, 48 hours. No pressure. No pressure." Emma nearly laughed. Her fingers hovered over the reply button. She could not tell if her chest felt tight from excitement or from sheer panic. Why would they want to read anything I write? I haven't touched real journalism in 5 years. She stared at the prompt again. Tell a story that matters to you. Something personal. Something real. Her first instinct was to say no. She had no resume, no connections, no portfolio beyond a few blog posts buried under years of digital dust. But then she remembered Liam's voice from yesterday. Calm and certain. "You have a story. And I think people need to hear voices like yours." Emma exhaled. Still, doubt clung to her like fog. Later that afternoon, she met Liam at a quiet cafe a few blocks from the hospital. It was the kind of place with mismatched mugs, indie music humming through the speakers, and old books stacked along the walls. He was already there when she arrived, sipping something dark and bitter, scrolling through his phone. He looked up the moment she walked in. "Hey," he said, standing. "You okay?" Emma sank into the chair across from him, her shoulders tense. "I got the email." Liam didn't pretend not to know what she meant. "And? They want a writing sample. Something personal." "Something personal." He waited. "I don't think I can do it," she admitted quietly. "I don't belong there. We're not." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Because I'm a waitress? Because I haven't written anything longer than a grocery list in years? Because I'm a single mom who can barely get through the day without collapsing?" Liam leaned forward, setting his coffee aside. "Emma," he said gently, "sometimes the world does not need another polished voice with the perfect degree and connections. Sometimes the world just needs someone honest. She stared at him, unsure what to say. Write it, he said. Not for the job. For you. That night, Emma sat in the hotel room with Oliver snoring softly beside her, his arm draped across a stuffed dinosaur. She stared at the blank document on her borrowed laptop, her fingers frozen over the keyboard. Write something personal. Real. Her heart pounded. She began typing. I never meant to be a mother at 22. I never meant to be alone. But life has a way of throwing you into the deep end and daring you to swim. And for 4 years, I have been treading water with one arm while holding my son above the waves with the other. Once the words began, they did not stop. She wrote about fear, about loneliness, about choosing diapers over dreams, rent over ambition, about the guilt of being tired, the joy of Oliver's laugh, the ache of watching her reflection vanish behind fast food uniforms, and late nights sobbing on the bathroom floor. She wrote until the sun peeked over the skyline. When she was done, she had 3,000 words and tear-streaked cheeks. The next day, she hit send on trembling hands. For the rest of the day, she avoided her inbox. She distracted herself with hospital visits, errands, anything to keep from checking her email every 5 minutes. It was not until the evening, while Oliver napped in the chair beside her, that her phone buzzed. Subject: Rewriting sample. From Claire Winters. Callahan Media. Emma's heart pounded as she opened it. Emma, this is exactly what we've been looking for. Your voice is honest, raw, and deeply human. We'd love to bring you on board as a freelance contributor for this project. Let's set up a call this week to talk details. Welcome aboard, Claire. Emma blinked at the screen, barely able to breathe. She reread it 3 times before the truth hit her. She reread it 3 times before the truth hit her. She had done it. She was not just a waitress anymore. She was a writer again. Later that night, standing outside the hospital beneath a glowing street lamp, she called Liam. He answered on the first ring. I got the job, she whispered, voice trembling. On the other end of the line, he was quiet for a beat. Then, of course you did. Emma laughed through the tears. Thank you. You did this, Emma, he said, not me. But she knew that was not entirely true, because for the first time in a long time, someone had seen her, really seen her, and reminded her that she was more than her struggle. And that was the first step toward becoming someone she had almost forgotten she could be. The days began to find a quiet rhythm. Emma still visited her mother, still chased deadlines for Callahan Media, still balanced life as a single mom. But now, woven into the chaos, were moments with Liam. It started with coffee, a text. There's a place near the park. Quiet, strong lattes. Want to escape for a bit? Emma hesitated, then said yes. They sat by a window in a quiet cafe. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. But the silence between them never felt uncomfortable. Liam listened. Really listened. He looked at her like her words mattered. Like she mattered. She told him about her mother, reading to her at night after working 3 jobs, how she once dreamed of writing novels under a pen name, too afraid to believe in her real one. Liam shared about his childhood in England, how his parents' silence taught him to grow up fast, about feeling invisible at a boarding school full of sons of powerful men. He did not share everything, but he shared enough. A week later, they met again, this time at the park. Oliver ran in dizzy loops around them as Emma and Liam sat on a bench with coffee. Who likes you? Emma said, nodding to her son. Liam smiled. He asked if I was a T-Rex or a businessman Saris. I told him I'm still figuring it out. Emma laughed, really laughed. And Liam turned to her, smiling back. You know, she said softly, I didn't think people like you existed. He raised an eyebrow. You're rich, calm, still human. He chuckled. The calm's a myth. I've just learned how to hide the chaos. She studied him. Do you hide everything? Used to, he said. Then a tired waitress fell asleep on my shoulder and made hiding feel unnecessary. The silence that followed was full, not awkward. She didn't know what this was becoming, but it felt real, gentle, maybe dangerous, and how deeply it pulled at her. As fall deepened, the nights turned colder. One evening after dinner, Liam walked Emma and Oliver home. The boy was fast asleep in his arms by the time they reached the hotel. I can take him, Emma whispered. But Liam shook his head and carried Oliver inside, laying him gently on the bed. He's lucky, Liam said, watching the boy sleep. Why? She asked. To have you. Emma's eyes burned. No one ever says that. Emation. He turned toward her. Neither spoke for a moment. Then she asked quietly, Want to stay for tea? Liam smiled. Sure. They sat at the small kitchenette table, fingers wrapped around mismatched mugs. The tea was bitter but warm. They talked about work, about movies, about mothers. Emma told him about her pregnancy, how scared she had been, how David walked out, how she once cried in a grocery store aisle because she could not afford both diapers and formula. Liam said nothing. He just reached across the table and placed his hand gently over hers. Not possessive, just steady. She did not pull away. They never defined what they had. Not love, not dating. But he texted her good morning every day. She saved his voicemails. He brought Oliver small toys from business trips. She wrote more freely now, essays her editor called luminous. They circled each other, close enough to feel the heat, unsure if they could survive the fire. But Emma found herself wondering, what if this wasn't temporary? What if this was real? She did not say it. Neither did he. But neither of them walked away, and for now, that was enough. The ballroom shimmered with golden light and whispered elegance. Crystal chandeliers floated above designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Waiters passed flutes of champagne. It was the kind of night where fortunes mingled with fame, and Emma Carter felt wildly out of place, till Liam Callahan took her hand. Her navy gown, borrowed and understated, contrasted against the opulence. She had never worn anything like it. But Liam looked at her like she was the only one in the room. You're stunning, he whispered. She tried to believe him. He introduced her simply as Emma. No mention of roles, titles, or pasts, just Emma. And for a moment it was enough. Until a voice sliced through the crowd. Emma Carter, it said, smooth, cool, knowing. Emma turned. A woman in a crimson gown stood before her. Tall. Confident. Perfect. Vanessa Caldwell. The woman smiled. I assume Liam hasn't mentioned me? Emma's chest tightened. No, he hasn't. We were engaged, a long time ago. But in many ways he hasn't changed. Emma swallowed. I see. Vanessa leaned in, her voice low. Liam doesn't do love. He does power, control, distraction. But not love. Not with girls like you. Before Emma could respond, Vanessa smiled and walked away. A ghost in red silk. Emma stood, frozen. The rest of the evening blurred. Laughter, handshakes, polite smiles. But Vanessa's words echoed louder than the music. Girls like you. Not love. Not real love. By the time the final toast ended, Emma felt brittle. Liam leaned in. You okay? I need air. Outside, the city sparkled beneath the stars. Emma gripped the railing. Silent. Liam approached. Emma, what happened? She turned. Eyes guarded. You didn't tell me about her. Vanessa. She said you were engaged. That? I'm just a distraction. She said, You've never loved anyone. He exhaled slowly. She's not wrong. I was engaged to her, yes, but it was arranged. Convenient. I didn't love her. I didn't love anyone. Because I didn't let myself. He stepped closer, voice quieter now. I control everything, Emma. That's how I survived. That's how I built all this. But love, real love, doesn't come with contracts. And now? She asked. He met her eyes. Now, I cancel meetings just to see her smile. I read your articles and feel proud. I hold your son, and hope he might one day see me as someone worth keeping around. His voice broke slightly. I didn't know what love was until you. Emma blinked fast, her heart thudding. I don't want to control you, Liam added. I just want to be near you, to be good to you. If I'm not doing that, tell me. Emma didn't speak. She just reached out and took his hand. And in that simple gesture, without words, she forgave him. And finally, quietly, she trusted him. The relationship between Emma and Liam had quietly shifted from possibility to something real. There were no public declarations or social media announcements, No romantic cliches. Just small, intentional moments. Morning coffees waiting on her desk, Liam picking Oliver up when she was stuck in meetings. Late-night walks after the boy had gone to sleep. It was steady, gentle. And perhaps that was why it felt so real. Liam had never asked to be part of her world. He just showed up, over and over. Patient. Consistent. And Emma, for the first time, found herself leaning in instead of pulling away. Oliver adored him. At first, he had called Liam uncle. But lately, he just said Liam, with the kind of familiarity children reserve for people who make them feel safe. Liam knew which dinosaur was his favorite, could draw them on napkins, and always remembered the bedtime story halfway through, even when Emma forgot. They were becoming a family, quietly, naturally, without even naming it. And then, one night, after a long shift at Callahan Media, Emma's phone buzzed as she stepped out into the cool spring air. She expected a message from Liam. Instead, the name flashing on the screen made her stomach sink. David. She hadn't heard from her ex in nearly a year since the court had awarded her full custody of Oliver. His sudden reappearance wasn't just unexpected, it was unnerving. Emma answered cautiously. David? His voice was clipped. Cold. We need to talk. She stiffened. What about? Oliver, he said simply. Then, with a pause, I've spoken to a lawyer. I'm filing for joint custody. The words hit like a punch to the chest. What? Emma whispered. You abandoned us. You're not stable, David continued, as if he hadn't heard her. You're dating a billionaire now. That's not a safe environment for a child. I don't think it's healthy. Emma's hand trembled around the phone. You left when I was pregnant. You haven't paid child support. You didn't even send a birthday card. I'm still his father, he said flatly. And I think it's time the courts reassess who's really fit to raise him. Then he hung up. Emma stood frozen on the sidewalk, her breath shallow, panic climbing fast. She could barely feel her legs. When Liam pulled up a few minutes later, she climbed into the car without a word. But he saw her hands shaking. He waited until they stopped at a red light, then reached over gently and took her hand. Emma, he said softly. What's wrong? She told him. About the call, the threat, the fear. When she finished, she looked out the window. I'll deal with it, she said. I always do. But Liam's voice was quiet and firm. Not this time. You're not alone in this anymore. 3 days later, they met David at a coffee shop in Midtown. Emma didn't want Liam to come, but he insisted. You need to know someone's in your corner, he had said. David arrived late, his posture defensive, his tone already combative, when he spotted Liam. I don't know why you're here, he said. Liam's voice was calm. Because I care about Emma, and about Oliver, and you've made them both my concern. David scoffed. You think money makes you a dad? No, Liam replied. But disappearing doesn't either. David's voice rose, accusing Emma of being unstable, of depending on Liam, of endangering their son by being with someone like him. She can't even pay rent without you, he sneered. She has a stable job, Liam said evenly. She's a published writer. Her son is healthy and happy, and she's never once put herself before that boy. Liam slid a folder across the table. Inside were custody records, doctor reports, Oliver's school evaluations, proof of Emma's income, and statements from her employer. You left, Liam added. There's documentation of that, too. David's confidence faltered. He flipped through the papers, his jaw tight. I can't fight you, he muttered bitterly. You've got lawyers, money, influence. You don't need to fight, Liam said. You need to decide what's best for your son. David looked up at Emma, then back at Liam. Just don't hurt them, he said, and left without another word. Emma sat still, heart pounding. Then slowly she looked across the table. You said you love me, she whispered. Liam's eyes didn't waver. I do. She swallowed hard. I don't know how to do this, but I want to try. He reached across the table, his hand warm, grounding. We'll figure it out, he said. And for the first time in years, Emma felt something powerful rise in her chest. Not fear, not doubt, but hope. 1 week after the confrontation with David, things finally began to settle. No more threatening calls, no court documents, just mornings filled with Oliver's laughter, afternoons of writing, and quiet evenings with Liam by her side. For the first time in years, Emma felt something she had forgotten existed. Peace. It was not dramatic. It lived in everyday rituals. Tea before bed, preschool pickups, and knowing no one was about to rip the ground out from under her. She had stability. A job. Her writing was being published. The quiet courage of a single mother had gone viral. Strangers emailed her, saying she gave them hope. Her name was no longer invisible. And Liam wasn't just a part of her life anymore. He was home. That Friday, he invited her and Oliver to his apartment for dinner. No chefs, no staff, just the three of them. Dough EVF and everything. F reiterate. Laughter. Emma stood barefoot in the kitchen, helping Liam drain noodles, while Oliver zoomed around the living room with toy dinosaurs. "Remind me why I'm cooking for a billionaire again," she joked. "Because I burn everything," he deadpanned. Dinner was messy and real. Juice spilled. Bread was overtasted. And yet, it was perfect. Later, Liam took her out to the balcony. The skyline sparkled. The city buzzed below. But up there, everything was still. He turned to her, serious now. "Before I met you," he said, "everything in my life was calculated. But then I met a woman with tired eyes and a sleeping child on a subway, and suddenly nothing made sense anymore." Emma held her breath. "You and Oliver didn't just enter my life, you gave it meaning. And while I'm not proposing, not yet, I need to ask." He took her hands. "Are you ready to build a life with me?" Tears welled in her eyes. So many memories surged forward, working double shifts, counting change for diapers, crying in silence. And then Liam, the man who stayed, who showed up, who saw her. "Yes," she whispered. "I want that." Right then, Oliver appeared, rubbing his eyes. "What are you guys doing?" Emma bent down, smiling, saying yes to something really good. Oliver snuggled into their hug. And in that moment, they were not three separate lives. They were a family. 1 year later, the bookstore was cozy, buzzing with quiet joy. Stacks of Emma's debut memoir, The Light After the Tunnel, lined the tables. Subtitled, A Mother's Journey Through Fear, Faith, and a Miracle Named Liam. Readers came in waves, hugging her, asking for signatures, whispering how her story changed theirs. Emma sat at the signing table in a soft blue dress, her hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from joy. And just a few feet away, in the front row, sat the people she loved most. Oliver, now 5, beaming in a button-down shirt he insisted made him look professional, and Liam, calm and proud, his arm resting behind the boy's chair. After the last book was signed, Emma walked toward them. Oliver ran to her. "I told my class you wrote about us." "I did," she said, kissing his forehead. Then Liam stood, pulling her into a quiet, full-hearted hug. A camera from a local news outlet snapped a photo just as Emma smiled, glowing, at peace. She had not just survived, she had rewritten her life. And so, Emma found not just peace after the storm, but purpose, love, and a life she never thought possible. And in the twilight of her life, she was no longer just surviving, she was living. Because sometimes all it takes is one unexpected moment, one kind stranger to change everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul Stirring Stories, where we bring you true and fictional tales that heal, inspire, and remind us all of the power of love, resilience, and second chances. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story. Thank you.